What's happening? And welcome to another episode of Tu Tia Bruja. I am Bex Carlos, your designated Tia Bruja. You know, I don't know about you, but the stars are really kicking my ass right now. There are 6 different planets in retrograde, but I also realize, right, that it's less to do with the stars and more to do with me. Because really, what any type of retrograde makes you realize, there are foundations that are not as strong as you think they are. And it shows all the cracks. And since this is a Phoenix year and we're collectively going through it, we're having to let go. If you're someone who has ever dealt with codependence, you're definitely probably working through that. If you're collectively trying to wake up, you're letting go and undoing a lot of ties and things that no longer benefit you. Because I think that, I just got checked real hard the other day in a discussion about human design, and I'm still sometimes iffy about it, but it was saying, and this is how I'm feeling, the martyr phase of my life is over. I am living as authentically as I can for myself. And with that is the hard realization that I'm going to lose people along the way. But I think that like losing people is part of a growth that is necessary. And that's the thing that's hard sometimes. I don't think we should just throw people away. And I think a lot of people in our society do that, especially in leftist spaces. There's the need to cancel people. And, I don't think that people should be purposely causing harm and abusing and hurting others. But I think we also have to understand that people who typically abuse others are working from a place of low ego and really, to put it shortly, bad vibes. They've had a lot of stuff that they haven't worked through, and we don't need to take it upon ourselves to fix it. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they have some stuff that they got to like really focus on, and whether or not they choose to is their own priority, not ours. I think in society these days, we have the need to re-victimize sometimes. And listen, I get it. I've had a lot of bad shit happen to me. A lot of bad shit happen to me. But I also realize that sometimes the brain just like will not let you stop thinking about it, right? Like example, PTSD. But I also think that sometimes we have to reframe our mindset around the situation and be grateful. That's a hard thing that I have issues with. I have a really hard time being grateful. But I also realize spirit reminds me all the time to be grateful. The other day nobody tells you, right? If you start to really flex your psychic and media muscles and want to get more in touch with speaking with people beyond this realm, people who lived at one point on this planet and have moved on, because I'm not just trying to talk to anything like, ew, get out of here. When you really start to flex those muscles, you get messages all the time. So the other day, a woman that I know and I suffered a mutual loss, and we were in the middle of a hardware store and we were speaking about it. It's really hard to say and it's really hard to want to accept, but suffering is such a major part of life. And it doesn't mean that you should get like stuck in it and re-victimize yourself. I mean, unless you're into that, I don't know. But I think it comes a point, right, where if we keep thinking in that mindset and that vibration, just thinking about the trauma and hurt that's been done to us instead of like shaking off and releasing it, we really just get bogged down. We miss the opportunity to rise up above it. We keep going back to bad coping mechanisms, bad habits. So we really got to face that shit head on. I'm trying to take measures all the time to be better about letting go of the things that weigh me down, but it's also just not an overnight process, right? Like we're all figuring it out on our own terms. So I'm crying in the middle of this hardware store, delivering the message to her that she needs to remember the time they had was the best and that she needs to remember to be grateful. We both collectively started crying, and she was telling me that that was like the hardest thing that she had to come to terms with, because she would have rather gone through it all again and experienced the pain that she did than to have not experienced it at all. I'm not a mother. I don't know if I want to be. I don't think I do. Who knows? But I can only imagine losing a child before their time is so gut-wrenching. And it's interesting because I really do think a lot about the fact that there are certain types of people, right? Like there's a line in the sand of people who experience loss in any type of way, whether it be people or things related to family members, because I think that you can have such an attachment to, like, I love hearing of people going to their grandparents' rancho and the way that things go, things get sold and it no longer belongs to them. And I think in some ways, not always though, because obviously people can't be replaced. But I do think that sometimes spaces hold the memories, all of the things that you did there, and there's a certain place in your heart, right? And so a place can be a very challenging thing to lose. Either way, we have to be grateful for the time that we had, the things we experienced. Pets will break your heart every time because the worst thing about pets is that they don't live long enough and that they're going to leave before you. But I love my cat. Toulouse and Ruhita are such cute little derpy. Well, she's derpy. He's more serious and stubborn, very brooding. He's a Cancer, you can assume from there how our dynamic plays out. He's my sweet little cat boy, and my fire sign energy I think is way too much for him, but he deals. It's such a beautiful thing when you can really let go of things with grace and be grateful. That doesn't mean that grief doesn't exist or isn't part of the process, as it very much should be. And everyone grieves differently. Being able to come to the realization that being thankful, being grateful for the time that we experience is the best way to honor it and the best way to really just keep a beautiful energy around the relationship, because the people that we lose, they don't leave us. They're around us all the time. If we could have a much more positive approach to death, the way that so many other cultures, because they have been forced to lose people so young or lack the resources or whatever, what have you. In Mexico, I think so much about the fact that so many people go undocumented to the US and then they don't come back, and it just leaves this big hole in the hearts of their family. It's just so tragic to think about. I'm always so grateful when I hear of stories of people who go from Mexico or any other country and go to the US and have like such an amazing opportunity and are able to exceed and just do all these things that help them get ahead in so many different ways, because it's really healing a lot of different parts of themselves. And may we all be thriving to heal different parts of ourselves. Forgive the things you did in survival mode, because sometimes they're not great. I have so many things on my mind right now. It's been difficult because I'm trying to create more episodes that are focused in collaborations. That was supposed to be the theme of this season, which, I mean, in the future, I'm probably not going to do themes anymore because they don't ever seem to really work out in the way that I want it to. And it's a lot of pressure. And maybe that's also why I haven't been creating, because I just feel that the rules that I'm having to break to create don't always work, because I think I only really started doing themes a couple seasons ago. Again, foundational. If it's not working, change it. Probably here in the near future, going to hear a lot more conversation about my teen years, like I said. In addition to that, I would love to discuss divination more. Tarot is, I feel like, a big part of my practice. I love this Marcella Kroll Dreamers tarot deck. Probably my most accurate one. It's the one I love the most. It fills me in a way with joy that a lot of things don't. It's iridescent, side finished, the colors, the imagery, it's all very like youthful and beautiful in a way that I can't even explain. And I feel like it's helped release a lot of things inside of me that I needed out. If you get the opportunity, I would buy one. We actually just gave one away as part of the Save Mia raffle, which, let me do a little housekeeping to that respect. Thank you to everyone who took part, the donors, both financially, and the vendors who donated items to the cause, everyone who shared it. I talk a lot on this show about money, time, and resources, and the best thing you can do if you can't donate to something with finances, to just share it with your friends, especially if you have a lot of social capital, a lot of people, you have a lot of followers. That's the best thing you can do. In addition to that, make things, and you're willing to donate things to be raffled off or sold to other people or whatever, given away. That's a way to do it. We're all trying to learn how to be better and make that information be helpful to you. I am just in this point where in my Thea life where I'm being less of a martyr, being less cringed by everything. Not that things still don't cringe me out, because they do, but I'm trying to have less judgment, and by having less judgment, I feel like I'm coming less out of a place of lecturing and more like, hey, just so you know. Who thought 32 would be the year that I became a lot more chill? 16-year-old me would never. Man, that bitch loved the Ramones, and her fire energy was just too much. Such a dirtbag. 60-year-old me, if you could see us now. Okay, let's see. We're going to pull a card, pull a card, pull a card. We're shuffling. We're closing our eyes. We're breathing in. We're breathing out. Ugh. Side note, I saw this super cute tattoo that someone drew up, and it was the Hermit as a stoner lighting a bong. And I was just like, that's too cute. All right, we start with the Dreamer of Wands reversed. Whoo-wee. All right, so I think this one is, kind of sort of what you need to hear about healing your inner spirit, right? Because I think it's applicable to me, and if it's applicable to you, take it. If it's not, that's fine too. So the Dreamer of Wands, somewhere along the lines, right, we built all these really high expectations of ourselves. Maybe we were a lot smarter than other people, or maybe we just felt like we knew a lot more. Because I feel like, especially when we're the children of immigrants, we're taught to be aware of so many things so early on. You're a lot more receptive to people's feelings. So you're just sort of aware of things earlier on, of the expectations, right? And I think that sometimes because we already know the expectations that we are trying to meet, sometimes we have really high expectations. And that can be really daunting and really hard for you to make things happen that you're trying to make. That's connected to our energy, like our life force. And I think that when you get older and start to suffer a lot of disappointments, it really crushes that inner spirit. So you really want to just understand you're going to do the best that you can do. Like, you got to stop trying to control everything. Like, if control is something that you have a lot of difficult with, and maybe you had a really hectic childhood, and because of that, you feel like you have to be in control all the time, you have to understand that that's a trauma response, and you have to start to really scratch the surface and be like, where is this coming from? Like, why am I like this? And that's going to be hard. So be prepared with the work you're going to have to do around that. And the Ace of Wands. So again, more connected to that spirit, that fire energy, right? You're bored and you need some sort of inspiration. You know that inspiration brings you growth and you need energy to do that. So what could you do to increase the energy that you have right now? Because you want to fuel that inner child, right? That curiosity. Sometimes when we were children, we had to be in problem solving mode a lot of the time. And sometimes that was stressful, but I think sometimes it made us feel curious and useful and bright. And so instead of getting bitter about things and being like, oh, well, this is happening because of me, or this is not happening because of this, and it's all my fault, and be like, well, what could I do differently? How could that change? What could I do to grow? Because when we were little, we just wanted to grow up. That's what we wanted so badly, right? And now we're here. So we gotta do the best that we can because we asked for this and we're gonna be adults for a really long time. So if we're trying to grow, then I think that we need to step up and be the best versions of ourselves we could be to really allow ourselves to live. Because some of us are not really living. We're waiting to die. We're just going through the motions. We're stuck in our routine because that's what we got to do. And this isn't saying go do extreme things and quit your job or whatever. But I know that my intuition and how I feel about things, like the feeling I get, the energy I get from it, that decides whether or not I want to do it. Because that is, if it starts to feel really uncomfortable or this is a shift in energy, I'm trying to be better about at least giving it 48 hours to really think about it if I feel really intense about it and not just making a decision in the moment. But it's something that never fails me, is how it makes me feel. 7 of Swords. And listen, you have to come to the fact that you were betrayed at times. My biggest realization is that I betrayed myself, because a lot of my friendships and stuff and all these expectations I had, BFF, amigas para siempre, I thought that we were friends because we were friends. I also realized that we were friends out of a place of convenience. We were friends out of a place of this is what's going on. We were friends out of a place of needing to survive. And sometimes you just go and run away with the people who accept you. And that's not necessarily what you're trying to do. And I think that especially so many people stay friends with people just due to the amount of time they've known each other. Just as people just stay in marriages because they've been married a long time, right? That doesn't mean it's been working. That doesn't mean that they're happy. That doesn't mean they're fulfilled, right? In whatever way. They could be lacking. They could be sex starved. They could be love starved, Whew. This is to say, put yourself first, fill up your cup, give yourself whatever you need within reason. Don't hurt others. Don't hurt yourself. All right. And then an oracle card to really tie it up. Whew. All right. So we have the air sign. And also, I just want to say that I'm using the Sacred Symbols Oracle deck. Love this fucking deck. It's so amazing. All right. So logic, critical thinking, facts, information, research, and reasoning are required at this time. You may also need more information before proceeding. Drawing this card asks you to call on the element of air to help you in finding healthy resolutions. Mediate with the symbol to call on more air element in your life. Enhance logical thought and inspire new ideas. Use incense, channel writing, and journal to enhance the power of this element. And then the symbol is air alchemy. This is the symbol for air. That being said, I find it humorous that we are in Libra, which is an air sign. So what I'm saying is take this time to really think before you act. We're letting go of a lot of things. We're releasing the things that tie us down, the things that bog us down, the things that don't make us happy in whatever aspect that could be. We're putting more time and effort into ourselves. We're loving ourselves more and showing ourselves the love that we need. Be tender with yourself. Create the world that little 6-year-old you, 16-year-old you would have just felt a lot more comfortable and happy in. Because I think that sometimes, I know, we become resentful adults. We become cynical because we were so optimistic and we were so hopeful for a beautiful world. And if we're able to create the community that we want, I think we'll get closer to our goal of supporting each other and creating a lot of love out in the world. And I think that we should always choose love. And also, I just want to say that lately, if you haven't checked out Dear Franny podcast, you should. It's really good. And it's really helped change my perspective around love, because I think that we really do find love out of a place of scarcity a lot of the time. In addition to, sometimes we just seek relationships out of codependence and we don't realize it, and it's very harmful. We should figure out ways to be more independent, but also have that balance with hyper independence, because that's trauma response too. Everything's a trauma response. Thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to some of the conversations as far as interviews I have coming your way in the near future. Appreciate your time and energy. Shout out to all the listeners of the show, the patron subscribers. Thank you for helping fund all the different behind the scenes stuff that goes into the show. And if you want to follow the podcast, you can check in the link tree or you can check out the show notes, and it includes where you can follow us. I appreciate you. Bye.